Do you guys
You got
run?
time.
Are you
You
guys
got time.
runners?
Yeah,
I
I've been
know.
running a lot.
I follow. Bob has been absolutely destroying Strava lately. I pop in, I see Bob has run more in a day than I will in a week now. This man is running with Olympic athletes.
Bro,
Really?
I
How
gotta
far are
get
you
in on
running?
this.
I'm not actually running with Olympic athletes, but I did once.
Well, what's
I
what's your daily routine? Like, how much are you running? Should we save this for the show? Is this show material?
This
I
is
don't
good
know.
because I'm training for a marathon right now, so I'm
You are
yeah. I got 4 more months before, and I've never ran
nice.
more than 5 miles in a single like stint, so I'm gonna die.
Heck yeah.
5 miles
Nice.
sucks too.
Yeah, so I do like 42 miles a week right now. So I'll do like 8 miles on Monday, Wednesday. Those are my workout days. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are easy days. So like 4.5 easy. So it's like slower. And then Saturdays I'll do like 12 or something like that. I've been building up for the last year. So I started June of last year. And then just been like slowly building up. Started doing more structured workout training in December. And so I'm almost 6 months into like structured training. And my goal is to set a lifetime PR in the 5K this year. So
What's that going
I
to be?
want to
What's
beat
the
my
time?
high school. So in high school, I ran a 17:15 5K, which is like
That's great.
Pretty good.
28 pace ish. So that's the goal, is to run sub 17. And I'm actually going for it this Saturday. I'm going to try to run sub 17
Oh shit!
Dude,
5K
congrats.
on
You're
Saturday.
going to post
Nice.
it on Twitter if you do it? I want to hear about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is a good cliffhanger for it starts with this episode. Then next time we talk, we're gonna see did he do it?
Nice.
We'll find
I'm
out.
doing that with swimming currently.
Nice.
There's an
Wow.
Olympic pool in
All
downtown
the
San
boys
Juan.
are out touching grass and touching water. This is great. You love to see it. This is what gets us through the bear market. This is why we're still here, even though ordinals and Bitcoin assets are down. Bitcoin's up, so are our spirits. But man, the side hustles, the side bags they're faltering. But I don't know. Maybe they are going up on OdinFun. Gonna throw that one bone too.
We're back.
Bob.
We
Yeah.
are back.
Hell yeah. DCA your BTC and DCA your health. That is sick. I'm definitely getting on Strava now. All right, well, gentlemen and listeners, welcome back to the not so weekly Bitcoin Weekly Kickback. It's been September was the last time we chatted, so it's we're coming up on almost 1 year, and a ton has happened. And I didn't go to Bitcoin Vegas, so I want to do a quick recap around the horn of how was Vegas this year.
Fun. I was inside a casino the whole time. It was disorienting, but the programming, that team absolutely knocks it out of the park on programming. There was something for everybody, including me. And yeah, I love going to Bitcoin Vegas. It's too big now, I think, if you want to like have a bunch of productive items that you want to like check off, but like it is now kind of like an annual like going to Mecca every few years now.
Yeah, I would say Vegas itself, terrible 2 out of 10 experience, maybe 1 out of 10 experience.
So your
It's
first
just
time?
dirty. No, I've been to Vegas before. Dirt makes you feel dirty on the inside, makes you feel dirty on the outside. Not a big fan of Vegas. I ended up getting a hotel significantly outside of the city by a big park so I could run. So that was great. Get out into the scorching heat of Vegas on some trails. I would say connecting with, my Magic Internet friends, 10 out of 10. Everybody was there except you, Jake. And it was fantastic. Super fun to hang out with people. The Trio House was awesome. There were great like investor founder mixers. The Bit Gala was pretty fantastic as well. Inscribing was great. The event was really, really cool. Taproot Wizards Party was really cool. Great event. Like tons of like graffiti and stuff on all the walls. Like the event space was pretty cool. And then they had a nice like projector room. So in terms of like side events and meeting people, super fantastic. And then I gave out a bunch of these shirts, Degenerate Bitcoin Energy, and that was also that was really great. I think a big hit.
Jacob, you can't recap this, can you? So I'm going to do my recap now, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that going to the conference, so my first Bitcoin conference was in 2023 in Amsterdam. And it was right when I started becoming obsessed with Bitcoin. And I had already been to a bunch of like ETH Denvers and permissionless and stuff like that. But I found that it was all about layer one at that point. People were debating BIP 300 and Lightning Network talks about where Lightning has come from, where it's going. It was like, I guess it was kind of just like sort of post Taproot. Like Taproot was almost new at that point. And the Bitcoin conference this year had almost nothing to do with layer one Bitcoin at all, which, I mean, we saw this coming over the course of every conference I've been to. It looked more and more like ETH Denver to me. It was like all layer twos and all custodial solutions. This time though, the showroom floor, the word USD was present more than the word Bitcoin was, which I found really not like bad necessarily, just jarring kind of, like to go to a Bitcoin conference to see almost everything was custodial. And ordinals was the only thing that is the exact opposite of that. So I was like, I'm so used to being demonized for liking ordinals or collectibles or whatever, but really it's the only thing that's being pushed right now or has any mind share on the showroom floor that not the only, that's hyperbolic. One of the few things I think that like mandates that you're a custodian of your own stuff and mandates that you interact with layer one was the ordinals protocol and art on Bitcoin thing, because there is no custodial solution for that really. So it was interesting to see that. And I know it's all part of just growth. We want this. We want things to, because we have to explore every avenue. We can't just be like, no, we don't do this because it's ideologically wrong. It's not. If people want to do it, they should, and it's good for growth. But it was just so different from Amsterdam in 2023 till Bitcoin Vegas 2025. Radically different.
Did hear that complaint that the suits are here and you feel it as you're going through the conference.
It's really like, I didn't mean to sound like I was complaining if I did.
No,
Everything
that
was
was
awesome.
what it
Everything
was.
so
It
cool.
was no, stable coins are big, suits are big. It's I feel like the minority being ordinals on chain and have still a little bit of a cypherpunk streak. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to see.
Dope.
It's cool to not feel. Also, I saw a lot of people coming in like, get off our lawn, and then they would walk away from the art exhibit being like, you guys want to be on my podcast? Like to lots of artists like Chip and Rax had this experience a lot. I saw it one time. So I think there's a lot of growth. Like a lot of people see that there was this guy wandering around in like an astronaut suit and it said like $ crypto in the back of it or something. It was like the crypto is the ticker or whatever. And I was looking at it going, this is what everyone's mad about. They're not mad at us. They think we're that, but like we're only kind of that. We're a lot more than that. That's that. That's what they should be like. They're directing their anger at this thing. And they realized that once they saw that there were human beings making art and putting it on Bitcoin, it's not just like some amorphous blob of angry people doing something wrong to hurt them. It was like a human being who wants to say something and is trying to do it in a respectful manner. And it was really like, you could feel the communication beginning to happen there.
Interesting. Yeah, for me, I mean, I watched from afar. I had no FOMO, oddly, which I thought I would. But from my side, I got let go from BFF in April. We won't go into details, but that happened. And so I used that as kind of a forcing function to take a sabbatical for like 2 months, touch some grass. I've been going so hard for Bitcoin for so long. I was a little burnt out. So I'm glad you guys all had fun. I got to, I'm running, I'm working on my lawn, sun's out, I'm paddleboarding. Like, that's been good. And now, slowly getting back into it, getting the juices flowing again. So yeah, Bitcoin
Wait, are
tangs.
you saying end of April you took a 2-month sabbatical? That means you managed to largely avoid the last 2 months of insane drama.
You guys are going to be my digital download because I literally have I have topics that I've kind of I have headlines in my head, but I have not been following any of this shit besides I saw the Opera Turn thing. Alkanes is kind of popping. What the fuck is out? There's a few things we could discuss, but I have done zero research. I'm totally plugged out.
Perfect.
So
the funny thing is the Opera Turn drama, as of yesterday, is probably mostly resolved in terms of what is gonna happen. And now
it's done, right?
What do the people who are dissatisfied do? It's pretty clear what Bitcoin Core looks like. What do the opposition? It's what does the opposition do? Which I think is the interesting question.
Would it be skipping too far to say, what do you think they're going to do, Charlie? Do we wait until we do a little catch up for Jacob?
I don't think they're going to do anything. So
I think
nothing will happen. Some people use knots, and people will probably just eventually give up and quietly just stay with BTC instead of try to fork off.
So for people who aren't following, my grasp is that the filter boys have been trying to make the case that core is becoming infiltrated. And now that this new push has happened, they're saying it's fully captured. And the other side is just saying this is a rational thing to do with op returns. Like, what am I missing? Is that the basic gist?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You successfully did that in less than 2 months. Perfectly.
Yeah, it's only been like 40. Yeah, it's only been like 70 days now. I think this is a rather minor relay policy change. Or did a bit it was a forced error, I think, actually, by Core. I've been publicly critical of what I see a particular insular culture within Bitcoin Core, but this is not related to that. I think this is more an issue with a largely technically clueless population of Bitcoiners who have a very Puritan, authoritarian view of what Bitcoin should look like, and them being caught off guard by their complete unawareness of the game theory of Bitcoin. Core, I think, made an unforced error by inelegantly handling and introducing this topic. But I think they're making it's the technically right decision to relax relay policies. So, Bob, you haven't said anything.
Yeah. Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'm just chilling. Yeah, I would say take your 30-second summary and then crank it up to the extreme on both sides, and that's essentially the debate that has gone on over the last 70 days or so. People threatening to like, if this gets merged, I'm going to sell all my Bitcoin and I'm going to leave, and this is like the VP of Dev at Ocean Mining. Or you have people that are like, merging in this, relaxing this op return limit constraint doesn't actually do anything, and here's why, and we can prove it. And it's like pretty much a nothing burger, but because people are just freaking out, they're going to freak out. And so, you have a bunch of freaking out for, I mean, really not that much of a like substantive reason if you're like a brilliant Bitcoin technical person. And so, yeah, mostly a nothing burger, and now it's merged. And like Charlie said, the most likely path forward is nothing happens, and we just kind of forget about it and move on to the next thing.
Donnie, quick thoughts?
I mean, the point was that there is a use case for sending what used to be a larger than standard op return, and now people can do that without going through the back channels and working directly with a miner, creating multiple mempools, which, right? I mean, and also, I mean, at this point, if Citria, if we're going to point fingers at them, if Citria can do what they're doing with a slightly bigger than previously standard op return, instead of creating what I assume would be unspendable taproot outputs forever, I don't see the harm. Also, there's no discount in the op return, so like, better.
Yeah, stick it in the witness unless you need the BitVM simplicity op returnness. Because why are you going to pay more in the op return if you can just put it in the witness? So yeah,
I think the technicals of it, I mean, just makes sense to me. I catch myself trying to find common ground with both sides, and I think where I agree with the filter boys, if we'll call them that, is Bitcoin should be able to handle an attack at the social consensus layer. Like, that's true. They just chose a stupid ass bleep target to do it on, and now they've wasted all their social cred. So it's like, I think that's true. And then I think through this, what happens, it's like, who has influence now in, pushing Bitcoin forward? For a while, it was, for a while back, we were talking about Cat a lot. Is Cat the future? Are the wizards the stewards of Bitcoin? Seems like Cat's off the table for the most part. It's now CTV. We can touch on that. But like, if they continue to try and fight on this level, like, they're just going to fade into irrelevance even further, because it's a stupid thing to fight for.
That's a good point, Jake. And this is one of my views. It's becoming clear now in retrospect, where post block size war, I believe we felt a permanent reduction in the quality of Bitcoin technical discourse. because the pain and suffering that caused, it was a war of attrition from a lot of people who are technically minded and who just cannot weather this whole dimension of just constant psychic attacks and criticism. And so you do point out that like I would like to be critical of certain systems and groups and informal organizations within Bitcoin. And it's like there was a lot of credit burned over the past 2 months for, I think it was misapplied. And the thing is, I don't think it's a lost cause. I don't think this is a permanent one-way street. I think we could probably improve and heal some of this. This is why I'll transition kind of into the next topic, I think, which is this is why we were trying to do our Bitcoin scaling conference up next, because like a lot of the problem I've seen is that all different sides are not like there's not enough cross pollination. The technical minds have drawn too many lines in the sand, and they've gone off and gone their own ways, and they have these very distorted views of the Bitcoin network. And so the de facto hegemon of the Bitcoin development scene, Bitcoin Core, are not really like in connection with users as much. They're not dialed into who's building what. And the irony of this particular filter debate was because we had Citrea present their particular challenge proof scheme to a room with the people who then, of core contributors who then wrote about it on the mailing list. And I was just like, seeing it all happen, I was like, not like this. Like, at least it looks like things are happening, but like, I wish we could talk more about, I would say, bigger changes to Bitcoin and not what I would consider to be minor relay policy. It seems like there might be an evolution or a step forwards in the consensus discussion, but that's again almost too early to analyze.
The more things that are demonized that are not CTV and CheckSig from Stack, the better for CTV and CheckSig from Stack it is. So like if everybody hates cat, good. And if everybody hates this op return debate, good, because it makes everything else seem so much more docile, especially things like CTV, I think. In my opinion, anyway.
I'm worried the filter boys will just like have entered total crazy land and total delusion where now they cannot even entertain a rational discussion about CTV, which is unrelated. So I don't know.
I don't know that they've ever been capable of entertaining a rational discussion. So I think your hopes are a little too high there.
Forever an optimist.
And maybe I'm an idiot, but the chain can only expand at a specific maximum rate. Even if every block was a 4 mega in the witness data, it would still take us 6 more years or more to get to 2 terabytes. And by then, hard drives will be less expensive and blah, 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 and download rates will be faster and the internet moves faster. So like, but that's not a new figure either. That's the same figure. Like if we reached mass adoption and the whole world was using Bitcoin and somehow every block was 4 megabytes as it is just from normal use, we would have the same congestion and growth problems. And to define someone's use of Bitcoin within consensus as spam because it's not what you want to do is completely antithetical to everything Bitcoin stands for. That's like saying that Russia is making payments to gun manufacturers using Bitcoin, so we better stop Bitcoin. Like that's not what it's there for. It's there to be a facilitator, not an arbiter of justice, right? It's like whatever you use it for is what it's for, and it keeps happening. So what is spam? I proposed this as my local bit devs as the topic for tomorrow.
How did it go over your local bit devs?
What's that?
How did it go over at your local bit devs?
Well, it's happening tomorrow, but I proposed this, I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks ago at the end of the last one. I walked out, I was like, I think it'd be really like, maybe not productive, but like an interesting discussion to even define spam, because I feel like we're throwing this word around as just like stuff we don't like, and that's not what spam is. So
okay, quick shout out, Donnie at the what was it for the wizard party that you dressed up in that absolutely phenomenal disco outfit?
I dressed up in the disco outfit for the wizard party, even though I guess it wasn't necessarily a disco party, and I wore it to the previous 2 events too because I didn't want to go home and change. So I was at the speaker dinner for Inscribing Vegas in that outfit
with your girlfriend,
who was also dressed up in a disco outfit, but that wasn't a wig. That's her hair.
Also looked fantastic.
Yeah.
And so, what is spam? I need you, Donnie, to dress up in that disco outfit and sing a parody on "What Is Love, Baby Don't Hurt Me," but It has to be "What Is Spam." I need to be able to see your couch just like it is right here. You need to be full disco, and it needs to be a parody
Dancing
song, and
back and
it's going to
forth.
be the greatest thing ever.
All
And
right,
I will just run that on replay
deal.
24/7. I mean, I just I saw a vision, and it needs to happen.
I'll get it going for the bit devs tomorrow. We'll have it done by then.
Hell yes. Real quick to circle back on something you said, Charlie. I was trying to figure out what was the Citrea connection. People kept name dropping them. Is the fear there that you have to get Core's ear in a certain way and it becomes privilege? Is that why people were so mad at Citrea? Or was it just the proposal?
No, Citrea had no intent of changing anything. They did not advocate or lobby for this. This was coincidental because particular Antoine Ponceau and some others like Greg Sanders and Shores, Provost, were in the room listening to Citrea's presentation and said, oh, Citrea, because of the op return standards with Bitcoin Core right now, they need a certain data availability, so they're going to create unspinnable outputs in a certain niche, I believe, challenge scenario. Unlikely scenario. They'd already designed it. And so in light of this, a few Bitcoin Core devs were saying, well, there's other things like this. It'd be undesirable to have these. People are already submitting transactions directly to block producers. We should just unshackle these because there's no real it's not preventing any, and as it increases, it could have adverse effects on the network and node runners. Most people agree with this. The technical community broadly also agrees with this. That was the issue. Citrea got thrown into it because Jameson Lopp chimed in on the subsequent PR from Peter Todd. He said, I like this. That's all he said. And there was a lot of reactionary knee-jerking and accusation that this was part of some grand conspiracy by Lopp and other associated parties because they have financial interest, and accusations of not disclosing it, where he clearly disclosed it on his personal website of investments. So it was a lot of very deranged accusation. I actually mean that word. It's deranged. So a lot of people are saying don't be condescending. I think you kind of have to condescend to this because they're very disingenuous arguments. Now, not wanting spam on Bitcoin, that is a noble pursuit. The way about making very false, technically incorrect claims and accusations, that's not cool. So
Okay, that's helpful.
yeah.
Then yeah, let's pivot into. I mean, I think the nice thing from this, now that it seems like it's starting to close and we can focus on bigger fish to fry, is what's the next upgrade? Which you brought it up next. You guys have been focused on that hardcore. It seems like CTV and CheckSig from Stack are the front runners. Am I right on that, or where are we at in this scaling debate?
That's what I'm
That's
hearing.
the one. Yeah, that's the one we've had the most technical consensus. Is perceived as the conservative option. I don't know, Bob, Donnie, what are your views? You see other parts of the ecosystem than I do.
Nobody knows what it is. Like in the Ordinals ecosystem, no one has
needs
any
it
idea
needs
what
a
the
song.
difference is between CTV or CAT. Or,
Well, yeah, I would second that. I chatted with a couple people from Xverse who are wondering why they didn't get more participation in their What the Fork campaign, where you could actually go in and you could sign a message, BIP 322 signature, specifying which one you were more in favor of between CAD and CTV, I think, or maybe CheckSig from Stack. I can't remember what the options were. And my feedback to them was nobody knows. Nobody, very, very, very few people actually know what they even do and what the ramifications are and are clued in to the point where they actually have the ability to make an informed decision. And so most people are just not going to do it unless you give them I don't know, airdrop a runes token, a what the fork runes token, and get degens in. Maybe there's a I don't care, but I love Bitcoin option or something for people to click it so you don't skew responses. And then
control.
yeah, and then just kind of blow it up. I mean, that could be an interesting way to promote something like that. But most people, I mean, they have no idea.
Interesting. I mean, this is why when we had that debate a while ago around what's the current leader, and you guys, I think most of you said Cat, and I took the opposite position and said a cleaner covenant code. It was because when I was doing my research on like how hard Jeremy worked to get CTV over the line and then just kind of got stonewalled, I was like, if something this small can't get across, there's no effing chance it's going to be Cat with the wizards leading the charge. So to me, there's this like dance of like the amount of people that know about it versus the people that need to know is like, awareness versus like this small people who should know about it. So that's interesting. Like I saw X versus What the Fork campaign. It looked cool. But the average person doesn't need to know any of this shit, in my opinion. Like it should be 1,000 people globally that can like really talk about it in the forums, and then you're good.
Yeah, and it's I would say like the community overwhelmingly have supported Cat, but it is very much it's a very momentum dependent thing. The technical community, like the social community likes Cat, the technical community seems to prefer CTV plus CheckSig from Stack. The Bitcoin core technocrats seem to want to drag their feet and maybe do a great consensus cleanup. But this recently, a letter from a bunch of people who represent a wide range of technical mindshare, engineering mindshare across the Bitcoin ecosystem, signed a letter saying, Bitcoin Core, we formally ask you to like research this, to spec it out. We want you to take a forward approach to or teeing up this soft fork. So the ball's in their court. We actually saw this morning Greg Sanders write a really, really long ass like response about this. And I don't know. You can tell these people they don't want to do anything. They really don't want to do it. But on the other hand, we also saw Gloria Zhao this past weekend. You have heavily coded language towards consensus and soft forks in her post. So again, Core's not a monolith, a bunch of individual contributors, but we'll see. Like this is the latest push. It changes every month. Like what is the current like landscape? What's the current ranking of these things? I don't really care. I just want something.
Yeah, it seems to me, I don't know if you guys agree. Sorry, actually, go ahead, Donnie.
I was going to ask, is the activation path distinctly different for CTV versus Cat because Cat was already in and is replaced by what, op success or something, or is it still just the same
op success dynamic? But as far as activation, that's unknown. Like, do we follow BIPs 8 and 9? Are those going to be rewritten prior to this? Because that could be a thing. Right now, we're about to rewrite and publish BIP 3, and then yeah. So who knows? Activation still big unknown. If we have an activation client, I think activation can be more materially discussed.
Interesting. It seemed to me like things really pivoted when James O'Byrne, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he had like a tweet that had, here's the 3 things I would do as the next 3 potential upgrades. And it was like CTV and CheckSig from Stack. The second one I think was GSR, Great Script Restoration. And I can't remember the third one, but it seems like the people who want CTV, it's super small. It doesn't do a ton, but because of how limited script is, it does a lot compared to what you could do now. But I think people want the next 5 years mapped out roughly. Like, it's not just like we're going to fight this hard for this small ass thing and then we're going to do it all over again in 2 years. So I think when he posted that tweet, it was and then you saw Jeremy Rubin back that as well. Like, this is a logical roadmap. I think that's what we need, even though we're fighting hard for the next upgrade. It needs to be like these are the next 3 potential upgrades and why they slot into each other.
I wouldn't say no to a soft like Babe Ruth pointing to the outfield to say, I'm going to try to hit a home run that way. And that be like, we would like to try to propose this series of changes to Bitcoin. I think as much as a roadmap is a attack vector, you can get away by saying this is just a roadmap for this particular implementation of a Bitcoin client. We invite you to join along with us. So, yeah.
Once we get a roadmap, then we can have a foundation, the Bitcoin Foundation, and then we can start. Let's see, how else can we make Bitcoin more like Ethereum?
Yep, just combine block and tether, and we'll all be good.
One step at a time.
All right, interesting. Let's do a different topic. Do you want to talk about Alkanes? Do you want to talk about NerdAxes? or we could talk about where we are in the current cycle with all-time highs and, post having a year and some change now. Any of those?
Yeah, we
I
should
want to talk
chat.
about what Bob's building, because since our last pod, Bob launched the hottest product.
Up next. No, that was a different one. Sorry.
No. Prior to Up Next.
Yep.
OdinFun. Like everybody, all the users are on it. I don't know.
Yeah,
That
okay,
was
quick snapshot on the OdinFun side. We launched end of January, so that was public launch. We now have over 110,000 registered users. We've done 4,500 BTC in total volume, and we have tens of thousands of tokens created on our platform. Hundreds of tokens have bonded, and we regularly do, I don't know, 10 to 30 BTC volume a day, compared to like Magic Eden does 2 to 4. Even if you combine Magic Eden and Dot Swap and SatGo and SatFlow and Magisat and any other like Bitcoin L1 kind of runes product, we're like equal to or like 2x all the volume happening everywhere else. So OdinFun has been a massive success, which has been fantastic. It's we really tried to create a blazingly fast user experience, and so you can trade. It really is like the speed of Solana. So 2-second finality for all trades. You just log in with your Bitcoin wallet. You don't need anything else. We use session keys behind the scenes, so you don't even have to sign every transaction. So it's more like a Web2 app. You just kind of click around, and yeah, it's we're releasing external runes. You can like bring on dog or pups and add liquidity to an AMM next week. So we're working with people to bring liquidity in to OdinFun right now for all of these. I'll call them OG runes or Bitcoin launch tokens, so that we can get them trading on OdinFun as well. So that's been the craziness of OdinFun for the last what are we up to? February, March, April, May, 4.5 months.
Huge. Yeah, this one brings up two for me. I mean, Alkanes is the hot topic right now, and I think you guys did it right, which is that because you're doing it at this kind of blend of the L1 and the L2, like no one wants to trade on the L1. It's shitty. So I'm glad that Alkanes is popping off, and I wish them the best. But like in 6 months, I think it's just going to be another. To me, it's going to be like Tap or Track. Again, no disrespect to them, but like it was hot for a little while. Everyone loved Benny, and then it was slowly dying out. And I think it's going to keep happening because L1 sucks. It's meant for slow luxury things.
Well, there's two different things, in my opinion anyway. I see Bob's platform and Alkanes or any other meta protocol as distinctly different value propositions. And I don't think it's either or. I don't think people have to leave Alkanes to go use Odin, and I don't think they have to leave Odin to use Alkanes. And Alkanes does do more, or has been built on more, and has more momentum despite an insane amount of FUD than any of the previous competitors we've seen, from my standpoint anyway. This seems like it was born from the fire that wanted it not to succeed, rather than a group of people cheering something on that they really want to succeed that just doesn't catch on. Alkanes feels like the exact opposite to me.
I love to see it. BRC20 really fucked with my head, because it so changed my like view on market dynamics in Bitcoin, because it was a very, very clear demonstration that that all your preconceptions about like whether a token experience should be smooth, it challenges that. It demonstrates that really isn't that important. What matters, those are really, really helpful. Those maybe make for better sustained periods. But for adoption and initial and user onboarding, it is kind of this random walk of like where the mimetic energy is. So if you're able to capture that or harness that, then that's the thing that matters the most. Now, can BRC20 on Bitcoin Layer 1 last long term? No. It's a ridiculous design scheme, and it gets priced out much quicker than most other uses. If you want to build a sustainable scheme, you're going to have to do it through something like Odin or a scheme like that. Like it doesn't work long term on Bitcoin L1. BRC20 like really demonstrated that, I think, a lot of a lot of people like design protocols from the top down, even if they are the smart way to do it, it's still like not that does not mean that it's going to be used. Like runes is better, but it does, why is it not as popular? So it's because of a
Yeah,
mimetic energy.
my quick thoughts on alkanes. Alkanes are really interesting because they're pushing meta protocols to the theoretical limit in terms of like what you can do with computation. You can take any WASM smart contract and you can just stick it on Bitcoin, and then you can now execute execute smart contracts directly with your token balances. And so you essentially have unlimited programmability with a meta protocol. I don't know that we've ever had unlimited programmability with a meta protocol on Bitcoin before with traction. We've had tons like Rune State Machine or BRC 100. They had these kind of like state machine conditions and like things you could do. And they had like, a day of hype and then, nothing. Part of the problem here is infra. You need wallets, you need indexers, you need marketplaces, you need people to be able to hold it, people to be able to trade it, people to be able to mint it. And it's like very, very hard to get that infra layer. But T4, T5 from Tapper Wizards has been crushing with awesome infra on the Alkane side. You can actually like view smart contracts and view smart contract methods, and you can call smart contract methods directly from the interface. And it's so easy for that to become like wildly imaginative and creative. I mean, think about all of the crazy things you can do with smart contracts that we've never been able to do with runes or BRC20 in a good way. And so I think Bitcoin L1 unlimited programmability in a meta protocol. I think there are so many new fun flair type things you can do, almost like gimmicks in a way, but everybody wants to do, hey, we were the first thing to do this cool thing with this, and we were the first one to do this cool thing, and we have the first game, and we have the first Satoshi dice, and we have the first this other thing. And so because there are so many ways to be creative here, plus the Alkanes team is solid. I mean, they have a wallet, they have a meta indexer with MetaShrew. They've done multi-sig based schemes with threshold signing with Frost. And I've known the team, Taga and Co at Oil for years probably, and they
were
told me
the
about
first,
Alkanes a long time
they were,
ago.
yeah, they were the first like wallet to actually raise money in the early like first 2 months of ordinals. Like they were the first. Xverse technically did a small raise right before, but it wasn't as public. Oil was the first to like say we raised, and it like had Arthur Hayes on the cap table. I think it was March or maybe April of 23. So like they've been working towards this this vision for a
Yeah,
long time.
and
So
and when was the last time we had a legit team launch a meta protocol? Like we've had lots of like mediocre teams launch meta protocols. We've had lots of like single solo devs come up with a Git book and say, hey, here's a new thing you can play with. But like when have we had like a team that can actually crank on the infra, come out and say, hey, we're doing this new thing. And by the way, you can do smart contracts, and here's all the infra, and it's already supported. And so there are a lot of interesting pieces here that are swirling in the right direction for Alkanes that bodes well for it. Despite I don't know, I would say the history of meta protocols is very, very poor. And most likely everything just goes to zero and everyone forgets about it, and it's too slow and it's too clunky and it's too hard. But there are all of these like variables that are swirling in the right direction for Alkanes that it might have enough to gain traction and actually become more of a staying power as like a third player. BRC20 runes and Alkanes like could be. I think there's potential for a third player here.
if you have a wallet which is interoperable and works natively without screwing up all your other assets with that meta protocol, and you have an API endpoint which is very easy with good documentation for builders to then go do stuff with that. Those are two of your core building blocks. And Oil Wallet those are the first things they built. And so now Alkanes is really the downstream effect of them being able to deliver a highly expressive indexer side meta protocol. And yeah.
Just integrated. And that makes me think that Xverse and Magic Eden and Leather are not too far behind. The more people who adopt it, the more fees there are. The more fees there are, the more the marketplaces want it. And I feel like it has that initial kinetic energy necessary to keep that going.
Interesting. And
Hell,
what are
even I
the?
vibe coded a Telegram bot for an Alkanes thing. Like,
Oh
if that tells
shit!
you anything, it was like I've always been like trying to like
Yeah.
learn how to vibe code some basic stuff. And this one I was like, oh, here's an easy product. I can do this. I can put this out. Low hanging fruit. So even I'm, throwing my hat in the ring for like small, insignificant, like goofy things to do.
Alkanes have done 3 BTC in volume in the last 24 hours. For context, that's roughly what Magic Eden does with runes on a 24-hour basis. So it's
And
like,
there's
where-
like 8 assets too.
Where are
Fairly
people playing
Yes.
with this stuff? Like, where is home base right now for Arcane stuff?
ID Club.
yeah, existing marketplace is alkanes.idclub.io is where you can trade.
It's
There are
also tradable on Unisat now, though, too. There's a whole thing when
Okay.
you open the website.
Okay. And there are tokens as well as non-fungible tokens.
Both
as
are
well.
assigned by Runestone, which I find really interesting. People ask things like, are orbitals going to replace ordinals? And I think the value propositions for the two things are completely separate. And the games you can play with ordinals by like finding a sat and assigning it to the sat and never destroying it, sending it to the wrong place, splitting the UTXO, putting it back together, offset, yada yada. You can't play any of those games with orbitals because it's assigned a token balance with using a runestone, just like a runes balance would be assigned, which I think is cool because you can do different things with those than you can with ordinals. But also there's some weird like part of my monkey brain goes, wait, these are rarer because you can accidentally destroy them way easier. Because if your wallet doesn't read it in the early days, like the pandas, I mean, they can just kind of like evaporate. Am I wrong about that? Because of the runestone being necessary to transfer this thing from UTXO to UTXO. Doesn't that make them a little bit more like whoopsie? Like they can just kind of blow up?
In the same way that you can burn runes by accident, you can make cenotaphs. You remember those things? Similar mechanic with alkanes. If you don't include the proper message or you're not tracking your outputs correctly, that can be an issue.
Fun.
This is like
Interesting.
standard
Fun stuff,
101
different
though
things.
for like, we're in like year 2 of like meta protocol madness. So like this is one of those things like early meta protocols are always going to have screw ups and they can be fun stories, they can be painful stories, they can be both. I see this as one of those.
Year 3.
My
Unless you
God.
zero index your years, but it's still year 3.
Yeah, year 3.
All right, let's cover 2 more quick topics in maybe 10 minutes. We started. Were we already recording? Talk about NerdAxes. I see this in the timeline. Is a NerdAxe an OMB thing? And tell me about it. I'm curious.
Do I take this one, Charlie or Bob or anybody?
I think you and I tag team this, Donnie.
Cool.
So
NerdAxes are BitAxes, essentially. They're just branded.
BitAxe is part of the open source mining movement, where there are giants in Bitcoin mining manufacturing, and these are centralizing vectors and points of attack for Bitcoin. And so there is a movement to decentralize or distribute the hardware side of Bitcoin mining. Basically, you got to get the right chips and put them on the right motherboard and power supply. You also have a pleb mining movement, which needs like smaller power draw devices. So you have open source like hardware design and now like independent distribution channels for the chips and certain components that go into Bitcoin miner. The most popular series is called the BitAxe series, and you have different versions of these, which get bigger and heavier and stronger and more powerful each cycle. And the latest is called the NerdAxe, which packs way too many chips on too small of a board. Donnie is one of the foremost testers and engineers exploring the frontiers of how fast you can run one of these things, though.
I'm level 2. The people who are like level 1 and level 0 to this are the ones in the OMB home mining Discord, and the people who are building the firmware and software that the open source miners Discord is using to put out in, like when you look at the AxeOS page after you connect a miner, one of the dudes who's in the home mining channel in the OMB server is the guy who helps make the front end for that software. So like we're kind of at ground zero with this stuff. And BitAxes are essentially repurposed chips that have lost commercial favor. From my understanding of this, you can cook the boards on like an S19 or an S21, pop the chips off and redistribute them into smaller units, such as the NerdAxe that you were talking about now, which has 4 gamma chips, meaning 4 chips from an Antminer S21, I believe. What is that, Charlie? 1870, right?
I can actually show you 2 models. So if anybody's
Oh,
watching
he's
this,
got them.
yeah, I have the original, I believe, Supra model, which is a smaller single chip BitAxe, and then you have
From an
the bigger
S19.
one, the NerdAxe, which is this one which select people have been given or purchased because you own an Ordinal MaxiBiz, because that's kind of a whole side narrative to that project, and it's really fun. This is like the tinkerer's dream. If you want to have a low cost entry point, it's kind of like running getting a Raspberry Pi and syncing a node and exploring things. This is like that on steroids, but for mining. And you can actually make money with these with some strings attached.
It's the craziest one yet. The NerdAxe Q++, or the NerdQX++, it has 4 of the most efficient chips that you can put in these things so far that have been released, and runs at one of the lowest wattages for the highest terahash per second. So it is this recent thing is branded as a Parasite version. So these are like the OMB specific boards, but you can buy these things on a variety of different websites that are just NerdQX++, non-branded, branded as NerdAxe, but not like OMB stuff specifically. So this basically indicates that ZK has made his own production facility or production line somehow, and has gotten his hands on thousands of these in order to distribute to the holders, which is cool. Got me obsessed with it.
It's difficult and expensive to procure supply chain for the newer, faster BitAxe with this particular chip on it. So it does indicate that ZK's got a nice inside connection on this, and he's shipping custom branded ones to these 2 holders like myself. And I also like to talk about interesting trends in Bitcoin mining, the pleb mining movement, the alternate pool implementation movement, all those, my favorite topics. That's like where actually my love of Bitcoin started, in that little tinker's world. So you love to see it. This is so cool. And the fact that Donnie now is one of the foremost BitAxe experts that I know is insane. What an arc.
I find one thing at a time and I deep dive it. And the thing that I think is the most, so like I really dig the idea of solo mining. I dig the idea of everybody just plugging in whatever thing they can afford to not even notice the electric bill change on, and somehow contribute to the state of Bitcoin decentralization. I think that's a really fun idea. I don't think this is the end of it. I don't think this is the solution, but it's a part of the solution that we've all been looking for. Parasite pool is a really unique proposition, which is the thing that this is all sort of like in cohort with. That's why these are distributed by default pointed at Parasite pool. When you're a solo miner, like a home miner, you had 2 options. One of them is you could point at like Luxor, Brains, Ocean, something like that, and probably make back less Bitcoin than you're spending on electricity, because these units, this is why they are BitAxes now. They're less efficient than most of the commercially available, like front of the industry stuff. So it's not hashing as efficiently as the other stuff, and that's why we're using it at home. But because of that, plus your electric rate at home, which is much higher than most of these facilities are paying, you can't make the money back after you're spending it on electricity. So you're losing money with a conventional pool structure. Or the other option you had as a solo miner is just to point it at Bitcoin. And if you get a block, you get a block. If anybody else gets a block, you get nothing at all. And the odds of you getting a block with the smaller one that Charlie held up is like once every 30,000 years, you're likely to hit a block with a Supra. So what do, right? You hit a block once every 30,000 years. It's a hobbyist piece. There's no even like barely remote possibility you'll hit something. And in the other case, you definitely lose money. So what do? You could join Parasite pool, where if you find the block, you get 1 Bitcoin. But if anybody else finds a block in that pool, everybody else divides up the 2.125 remainder Bitcoin and the fees based on their relative hash power in the pool. So your odds of mining a block go down to something like once every 3 years, and everybody who doesn't hit a block probably pays off their equipment and all of their electricity bills that they'll ever solo mine with. It's a really cool proposition. So if you do it long enough, it's kind of like you'll probably at least come out even for your hobby, and maybe you come out with a Bitcoin.
It's the both and hybrid pool solution. And then I do, and how do I say this tactically? I do anticipate cool things happening on Parasite should further development continue, because Like when you have kind of an it's because clearly it's built from the ground up. It's not when it's like white labeled kind of copy and paste pools. This is novel, server architecture and design, which I think is cool. And there's a lot of design space open for a pool which is going to be experimental, and that is what this appears to be. So, in a world where all the major mining pools are like FPPS, and it's like institutional corporate miners with giant data centers the size of New York, more interesting agile heterodox approaches are very interesting. They're increasingly interesting to me.
I sat on the way back from the Bitcoin conference. I sat on the airplane next to someone that's done Bitcoin mining for the last 5 or 10 years, like very, very, very smart. And so we just talked about Bitcoin mining the whole way. It was like an hour and a half, and it was fantastic. And he said that he's taken some old, like ASICs miners probably, and he underclocks them in his home. And because he underclocks them, you get more efficient than if you're like clocking them. So I'm wondering if you underclock like an old miner like that, is it more efficient than something like one of these small, like a NerdAxe miner, or?
Usually no, because the chip structure is so much less efficient in like an S9 or something like that. Right, Charlie?
Yeah,
Am I right about that?
Donnie said it. So it depends on the chip. Basically the modern BitAxes have chips which are probably best to run at near their like target spec. For older machines, the S9, the S17, maybe your vanilla 19J Pro, like vanilla S19s, maybe that with specific like voltage metering and like very careful like optimization, you can get you can underclock and make it profitable. You actually see this a lot during bear markets at the industrial market scale, miner scale. Last bear market, notably Cathedral Mining, their publicly traded mining company headquartered in Canada. Shout out Drew Armstrong. They like really underclocked the absolute shit out of their stuff and like kept real cash flow positive. I think they were net positive most of the bear market last time, and that's what kept them alive. And now the meta's shifted a bit because we're not in a bull market or a bear market. We're kind of in this weird like in between zone. We're in a purgatory for miners right now as far as profitability. But underclocking at the home miner level can make a lot of sense if you've got an old ASIC. Yeah.
You can actually do this experiment yourself, Bob, if you wanted to. I don't know if you'd care to, but you can buy a BitAxe Max, Ultra, Supra, and Gamma, which is basically an S21 and S19, I think a 17 and an S9 chip, but one per board. So you could plug them in at home and get into the settings and underclock them. You can make a manual data entry field out of the drop-down menu, and then just start typing in your own ASIC frequency and core voltage. I would guess though that you're not going to do better than an S21 no matter what. I don't think you can even get an S9 chip down to 15 joules per terahash. I don't think it's possible. But that's from my very small amount of research.
It's not. I think S9 maybe is like 50 joules per terahash is like good.
Crazy. Now this is operating at near its like technical limits at 15 to 17, maybe like as bad as 20 joules per terahash.
Yeah, we've seen declining efficiency improvements year on year because like we're deviating from Moore's law over the like at least as far as like ASIC efficiency goes. So what most like ASIC machine, like the actual mining rigs are doing is actually just packing more chips into the board and getting better at just power distribution from chip to chip and just better optimization on the board. Yeah, we are in like the single digit per joules per terahash zone now, but like we aren't following Moore's law in the classically defined sense for the time being.
Wait, is the S23 in the single digits now? Like 9 joules per terahash?
The new 3 nanometer chipset. We actually reported on it, which I need to make sure. Yeah,
love it. You guys sold me. I'm getting one for sure now.
You should get
try out this. I have a node with the old Dell Optiplex whatever.
I might be able to get you one, Jacob. I'll send you a message if I can.
Sick. Okay. I think we can close it there. That was a good spot. Cool. Till next time, guys.
Till
Thank you.
next time.
This was fun.
Next week.
That's a good question.